Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about panic attacks. And what is a panic attack? Which I'm sure many people, if you've come across this video, you already know what it is. They're awful, they're very debilitating. And it's something that I used to suffer with many years ago. And I wanted to talk about them today because it's a real subject and it's something that a lot of people suffer with and they don't know a way out of it. They don't know how to deal with it. So I wanted to just give you my experiences of panic attacks in the past, of what I've dealt with, and also how I manage my panic attacks and how I managed to get through the process of a panic attack and through panic disorder. So if that's something that interests you, then stick around. This channel that I make these videos for is all about healing. It's all about finding you. It's all about discovery. It's also about me with the business, Reiki Zen. So very much to do with meditation, spirituality, a spiritual journey, also mental health relief, and ways of getting through life on a spiritual journey, or ways of dealing with certain things that you might come across during a mental health crisis. So again, if that's something that interests you, then please do click the button below, subscribe to the channel, and keep your eye out for more videos in the future. I've had a few requests with regards to this subject to do with panic attacks, and it's actually quite a hard subject to talk about because it's a part of me which is now in the past, really, and I try not to let it affect me. I try not to have it there where it's kind of like a reminder of who I am. But I thought, I need to be authentic. I need to actually talk about this because there are people, thousands, probably millions of people around the world that do suffer with anxiety and panic attacks and don't really know what it is or what's going on or even why they're suffering from them. So from my experience, I've always been fairly calm, but always been one that's never really kind of fit in with I suppose the mainstream people, and I've just kind of like gone along with it because it seemed like the right thing to do. Everybody else did it, this, that, and the other. So I was always trying to fit in. It never really happened. It never really worked, and now I just don't bother. I'm just myself, really. And there was a point for quite a few years where I was suffering with depression and anxiety, and then I started suffering with panic attacks, and the panic attacks just came out of nowhere. I'd never had one before, and it was obviously, for me, it was the anxiety that triggered the panic attacks. And basically what had happened was I went out one morning, normal routine of things, totally normal. I was walking the dog in the morning before I had to go to work, and took the dog out, got into the park, and I was just walking around, and I didn't get very far into the park. I was only out for maybe like 5 minutes, and I started feeling extremely strange, and I didn't really know what it was, but it was, to begin with, it was a feeling in the head. There was like a pounding in the head, and then there was a pounding in my chest and my heart. And then I just felt really dizzy. I felt quite nauseous. I felt like I was actually going to die. I felt I was going to have a heart attack. And my instinct was just to go back home. So I started to turn around, but then things got a little bit worse. I started seeing lots of light. It was insane. Everything became like really bright and really intense, so much that I couldn't really look up. I didn't want to look up. I could only look at the ground because the bright was just too much for my eyes. The light was just too much for my eyes. So my vision was really affected with this, and my feet and my hands and my arms were tingling like crazy. My hands were sweaty. So I was having like a full-on. Some people only experience maybe one or two of these things, but I was having the full effects of a panic attack. And yeah, they are awful. So if you're someone that is going through that, then my heart goes out to you because I know how awful they are. And so obviously, because I didn't really know what was going on and what was affecting me, then I decided to go to a local doctor, like a walk-in centre, just to explain what had happened. And they told me, I think you've had a panic attack. So they gave me some more medication. So I was already on some medication already for depression and for anxiety. So they gave me some more medication, which were these beta blocker things, to try and just sort of slow me down, calm it down. And I was on them for quite a while, and eventually they took me off them. On a side note, I did gain quite a bit of weight from taking them, because they just slow everything down and you just feel like really sluggish and heavy. But that's a side note on that. And eventually, after a while, I did stop taking them, but then it became a norm. It became a normal routine, especially when I was getting up and I was going to work, and I would feel this anxiety. So sometimes I would feel as though a panic attack was going to happen, but it didn't happen. But it was almost a feeling that it was about to happen. And then I was becoming more and more aware of it and more sensitive to it, because, and this is before I started doing any meditation, anything like that. And then, so I started to be more sensitive to it, to what I was feeling. So then when these feelings started to come up, because of my awareness of them, I was able to kind of like just shut it down in a way, slow it down. It took a lot of practice. So it's not something that I did straight away. It wasn't an overnight thing. It was something that I had to work at, religiously pretty much. It was a not every day, but I would say probably once a week, I would get these feelings that would come up. Then every now and again, it would just explode into a full-on panic attack. But the majority of the time, it was just like the feelings would come up. And the initial feelings for me, it might be different for you, I don't know. But the initial feelings for me it was my stomach. My stomach was the key, and I got this real trembling, this nervousness, these butterfly, the butterfly feelings that you get in your stomach. And I got all that. I got all these sensations that were going on, and I tried to like analyze what it was. So what's causing these butterflies? Why am I feeling so anxious? And I used to just sit with it. And this is before I did any of this kind of work. I was just sitting with it and trying to work out what was causing it. And obviously I could never get to the bottom of it, because I wasn't in the right place, the right state of mind, because the anxiety, the anxious mind and the depression were having like kind of like this, there was this battle between the two things that were going on. So the anxiety was making me overthink and creating all these irrational things that were about to happen. Like, I'm going to have a heart attack, I'm going to die, this is going to happen, da, 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 da. All that stuff was just circling and circling and circling, which was then obviously having the knock-on effect of me becoming more, oh my God, and building it up. Whereas the depression and that side of me was just like, I've just had enough of this, just get it done, get it over and done with, and let's just go, so that there was a lot of that was going on. There was a lot of really heavy emotions. And so one of my ways of starting to like kind of like deal with it was this trying to feel and analyze. So what for me was the starting point? Where was it actually coming from? So for me, it was always in the stomach. So that's one of the first keys that I found, is trying to find out where the starting point is in your body. Some people might start off in the feet. They might feel it just rising up through the body, this feeling of like just dread or impending doom or something like that. But for me, it was always the stomach, and then it would kind of like radiate out into the rest of the body. So start with that first point of where it's coming from. And the other thing that I try to do a lot of the time as well, and I'm trying to recall, was basically just getting somewhere quiet. So my first instincts when I was out with the dog that morning, when that happened, it was just like, I need to go back home. I lived on my own. I just had me and the dog, and life was pretty crap at the time. I didn't have a very healthy diet. I wasn't in a very good place mentally. But I just need to get back home because I knew where that was. I knew that was my cocoon. That was my safety place. That was where I could just go to. So I just went back home, closed my eyes, just sat down. The dog helped as well at the time. Animals are amazing for helping because they know, they can feel and they sense. So that, you know, the dog just laid with me and helped me through all of that stuff every single time. So getting to somewhere quiet where you can just calm down, and then just try to just focus on something. Focus on one thing if you can. And I know this is it's easier said than done, but you know, from where I was, the condition I was in and where I was at, that was something that I knew I had to do. I had to just focus the mind on something that wasn't going to keep feeding this. So it was really about refocusing, realigning the mind into something either more positive or just neutral, basically. I did a video on here a while back where I was guiding you into the 3 things you can do if you feel a panic attack coming up. And the first one was just what's the first thing that you see? Look at the first thing that you see. So it could be an ornament, it could be your pet, it could be the TV, whatever. And just focus on that, and then focus on when you're seeing it, right, what's the colours, what's it doing, what's the shape. Really focus on your attention on the actual object, the thing, whatever you're focusing on. Really intently focus on it. Is it shiny? Is it smooth? Is it rough? Is it, has it got jagged edges? Really focus on that. Then the second thing is also what can you hear? What you're listening to. So maybe if you are outdoors, listen for birdsong. Can you hear the birds? Can you hear trees rustling? Can you hear people chattering in the distance? Wherever you may be, just tune into the sound of everything around you, and it takes you out of here and just puts you out there, puts you into an external place to take you away from the event that is taking place internally. And then the third thing is what do you actually feel? What do you feel beneath your feet? Are your feet on the ground? Is the floor hard? Is it grassy? Are you sat somewhere? Are you sat on a bench? Is it cold? Is it warm? Is it smooth? Is it rough? So really tune in all your senses into where you are, and it helps to just take this out of the equation. It takes your thinking, anxious, overactive mind out of the event that is taking place. Again, this takes time, but anything to do with this stuff, it really does take time. It takes diligence, it takes practice, and you're going to go up and down. There's going to be times where you'll manage it, you'll get through it. There's going to be times where it'll be really, really difficult, and you might just have to go through the panic attack, but it might be a lot less intense than what it normally is. So just take your time. Take your time with it. There's no judgment. Just be in you and do what you need to do when you're in those spaces. If you can, go somewhere and just lie down. If you can, if it's daytime, draw the curtains, make the room dark so you can just close the eyes and just tune into the place that you're laid. Listen to the sounds that are around you or that are going on around you. Obviously, if you've got your eyes closed and it's dark, you won't be able to see much. So, but what do you feel? What do you smell? What do you sense? And really use all your senses to just calm everything down. And this is one of the things that throughout the years of practicing meditation really, really helps you to kind of balance everything. It balances your mind, it balances your body, it balances your energy system, it balances everything physiologically, internally. So you're able to be more aware. You're able to deal with things easier because you have a calmer outlook, you have a calmer presence, you have a calmer inner. And there's a lot of people that I know that I speak to on quite a regular basis that do deal with anxiety and panic attacks, and it can take them into some really, really heavy places. And for them, the messages for them as well is look into some form of mindfulness, meditation, breath work, anything like that that can just kind of calm your physiological body down, everything, your nervous system, your central nervous system, your PNS, your peripheral nervous system. You just need to calm everything down to just allow yourself to just come back to a baseline level. So the other thing that happened quite a while ago, again after that first instance that I described earlier, was I was going through a similar situation, and I had to just, there was actually something that was occurring in the house where I was like quite afraid of different things that were going on. If you're a follower of this channel, then you're aware that I went through a lot of spiritual darkness, a lot of stuff that was taking place that made me more aware that, you know, it's not just here, it's not just us. There is something much bigger going on beyond us in the spiritual realm and within a spiritual context. And I left the home and I had to go and sit again in this park where I took that dog, where I didn't have this dog now, and I had to just sit. And I used all of these practices that I've just described there. I just sat down, I just closed my eyes, I just listened to the nature that was around me. I listened to the trees, the rustling of the trees, the birds, and I sat there for half an hour to 45 minutes, and it really, really helped to just like, just calm everything down. The mind calmed down, the body calmed down. When you become more aware, when you're deep into your meditation practice, when you're on like more of a healing journey, which is where everything began for me. So I'm going back to I'm 44 now, but so I'm going back to when I was in my mid to late 20s, when I started going through a lot of this stuff. And at the time, I didn't even know what mental health was. There wasn't anything really about it like there is now everywhere. You know, all these people that are suffering with mental health, with addictions and all the other stuff that comes up with it. And I thought everybody else was the same as me. I thought they were all going through the same stuff, and I thought, well, why are they not going through this? Why do they seem to be okay? Why do they seem to be dealing with everything all right? And it wasn't until I'd seen a post on social media, and it was to do with depression, anxiety, the various symptoms, the things that you can feel. And I was thinking, well, that's just exactly like me. That's what I feel. That's what I must be going through something like this. So then that's when I started looking into it a little bit further, a little bit deeper, looking at various signs and symptoms and what you might feel, what you might experience. And that's what gave me the clarity and made me understand what it was. And I think also on some level, you have to come to peace with it as well. That is, at that time, that is where you are and that's who you are. Because the thing I feel about these life-changing circumstances, and that's what it is, your mental health isn't something that is going to keep you locked there forever unless you allow it to and keep you there. But if you really want to change and you really want to get out of that, I call it now, it's a life-changing circumstance. It's something that many of us have to go through to bump us out from that place that we are, the place that we're stuck. It's kind of like the universe just going and giving you a right hook, kind of, and just pushing you out of that location, that place, that mindset, that thought process, that way of being within that mind-made entity that you are, to push you into a new path. And that's exactly what happened for me. It wasn't until the meditation and the really calming everything down that I became then aware that it was actually the environment that I was working in, the people that were around me, especially the management team that was around me. And I'd been under this company and this management team for many, many years. So there was a lot of ingrained programming within this company that obviously that they do, you know, they roll all this stuff out to get you more and more sucked into the system of the company, that that's what I need to get away from. I need to get away from that. I need to get away from those people. I need to cut those cords and separate myself from that and create almost like a new identity, I suppose, in some way. And again, the universe kind of like made that happen by making that position at the time redundant that I was at. So I managed to just leave and moved on to a new chapter in my life, into a new way of being. And that's when I found out about Reiki. So for about 10 years before I discovered the Reiki, I had started a meditation practice. So I started doing that. Back then it wasn't daily, it was just when I could, basically. But the more peace I found through the meditation, the more I needed to increase it. So I started doing longer meditations. I started increasing the frequency of the meditation, so it became every day, or if I could, a couple of times a day, morning, nighttime. So everything just brought me back down to that baseline level. And the other thing about panic attacks and anxiety is we're so fixated on being a certain way. We're so fixated on and worried about, well, what will they think, and why isn't my life like that? And social media has such a huge impact on people's mental health, because they see all this stuff and it brings a lot of emotions up, and it creates friction internally. So again, if you can step away from all that, limit yourself to social media. If you need to, just have half an hour a day. It really is. Social media is such a negative place, and the thing now that's making things even worse is a lot of social media. It's not real. It's AI generated, and it's just people making things up to make themselves look more than what they actually are. And you don't know what is going on behind the camera. You don't know that individual. They just may look that way just for you on that camera, and that's why for this channel and for the viewers that come to this channel, and I appreciate every single one of you, that's why I think authenticity is the key. To be authentic, to be true. I'm not going to tell you something and then go out and get pissed every night, because that's not me. That's not who I am. That's who I was. But now I'm on a new chapter and a new journey. And with regards to the anxiety and panic attacks, again, it's a sign that there is something needs to change within your life. There is something you need to let go of. So it could be something that is replaying within you. It could be a repetition of thought. It could be certain people that are around you. It could be a certain job. It could be a position. It might just be certain people. It could even be family that are creating all this stuff. And yeah, it's basically a sign that you need to move yourself out of that place and move into a new trajectory and into a new chapter of your life. So that's a bit of a message from my heart to you. That's a little bit of personal stuff, which, to be fair, in the early days of this channel, I did talk about quite a lot, but I'm a different person now, and I don't really identify as much to who I was then. However, I think it's good to look back to where you were, to then realize how much you have grown, how much you have developed, how much you have changed, and how much you have become a new version of yourself. And each time you change that version of yourself, because you are totally capable, you can change your direction. You can change that version of you just by getting the mind under control, because the mind can make or break. It really, really can. And I know how hard it is. I know how difficult it can be. But if you can take something from this video and it helps you just a little bit in each day, then I'm so honored to be able to do that, to be able to help you. So have a beautiful day wherever you are. Don't let the thoughts overtake. At the end of the day, they are just thoughts. It's nothing real. It's just the mind trying to play tricks, really. The mind is very good at doing that occasionally. So get into some sort of mindfulness practice if you can, just to try and create some balance. However, using those keys that I mentioned earlier, the 3 steps to just being able to calm down from a panic attack or to reduce the effect of a panic attack oncoming, then they will really, really help. So until the next video, I hope this has helped. Have a beautiful day wherever you are. Let me know in the comments if this has been helpful to you, and also let me know if there's anything with regards to your mental health journey that you want me to cover, because I do have quite an extensive range of knowledge with regards to this from my own personal experiences. So if I can share and if it will help you on your journey, then do please feel free to message me in the comments below, or head over to my website and send me an email via the website. Again, all my links are always in the descriptions box below, so you can book your healing, you can follow me on socials, all that sort of stuff. It's all there. And also check out my playlist, all the meditations that I have on there, things that will help your anxiety, things that will help calm you down and bring you to a nice baseline level. But until the next video, much love, do take care of yourselves, and bye for now.